Hey guys, today we're going to be going over the first chunk of slides about our study of September 11th. Really a time that most of you know, almost 3,000 people were killed during these 9/11 terrorist attacks, which really triggered a lot of change in our country and around the world related to terrorism and just our daily lives. And so um, when we talk about this day, kind of the narrative, the story of this. On September 11, this is 2001. It's 8:45 in the morning. It's just a clear Tuesday morning, and American Airlines Boeing 767 plane. It was loaded with 20,000 gallons of jet fuel. It crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. The impact of this left this huge burning hole near the 80th floor of this skyscraper, a 110-story skyscraper that instantly it killed hundreds of people and trapped hundreds more in these higher floors of the building. So as evacuation of the tower and the twin tower next to it got underway, television cameras were broadcasting this live images of what appeared, at least at first, to be this freak accident, this crash. But then 18 minutes after the first plane hit, a second plane, a Boeing 767, appeared out of the sky and turned sharply toward the World Trade Center and then sliced into the South Tower near the 60th floor. And this collision caused this massive explosion that it showered all this burning debris over surrounding buildings in the area and onto the streets below. And immediately at this point, it became clear that America was under attack. Um, After this, we have millions of people are watching these events unfolding in New York during this time. An American Airlines Flight 77, it circled over downtown Washington, D.C. before it crashed into the west side of the Pentagon, which is our military headquarters. It crashed into there at 9:45 in the morning, right during these moments that the country is watching during the Twin Towers. And for this crash, jet fuel just caused this devastating inferno that it led to structural collapse of a portion of this giant concrete building, which is the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense. And so, all said, 125 military personnel and civilians were killed during this attack on the Pentagon. And so we have 64 people aboard this airliner were also killed at this time. And what was going on as people were watching is the Twin Towers then right at this time, 15 minutes after they hit the Pentagon, the World Trade Center collapsed, the South Tower collapsed, and this steel skyscraper, it was built to withstand like 200 miles per hour winds and withstand normal fires, but it couldn't withstand this tremendous heat that was generated by the burning jet fuel. So then at 10:30 a.m., the other twin tower collapsed, and only 6 people in the World Trade Center towers at that time of the collapse ended up surviving. Almost 10,000 were treated for injuries in the area, many of them very severe. So then at this time also, meanwhile, there is the United Flight 93. It was hijacked. And because the plane was delayed, the takeoff, passengers started to learn about the events that were happening, and they realized that through like cell phones and the airphone calls to the ground, they realized what was going on, and they knew that the aircraft would not be returning to the airport like the hijackers were claiming. And so a group of passengers here, heroes, like passengers and flight attendants, they planned to fight back, and they fought these four hijackers, and the plane flipped over and sped towards the ground more than 500 miles per hour and crashed into this field in western Pennsylvania. And this was at 10:10 in the morning, and all 44 people on board were killed. And so it is not 100% known for sure, but there's theories that this plane was headed towards the White House to be crashed into, or maybe even the U.S. Capitol or Camp David, where the president retreats in Maryland, or even there were several nuclear power plants along the coast that perhaps they thought could have been the target of this plane before it was brought down. So we think about why were the Twin Towers targeted, who's behind the attack, and really the impact of this. Um, because all told, you have 2,996 people were killed in these attacks, 19 terrorist hijackers in the four planes. People represented in of 78 countries died in New York and Washington and Pennsylvania. So you had people represented from all over the world in this moment, these attacks in the United States. And so the World Trade Center itself, 2,763 people died, 343 firefighters and paramedics, 23 New York City police officers, 37 police officers that were Port Authority police officers trying to evacuate buildings in the area in New York, and trying to help out the higher floors of the World Trade Center. And then 189 people were killed at the Pentagon, and 44 people from the plane crash in Flight 93. So totaling almost 3,000 people. So we realized these were terrorist attacks. A terrorist does not act alone. Usually it's a group of people. And so this terrorist group would declare themselves an enemy of a country or a government, and attack that government to either spread their message, or give a message about their hatred towards what's going on in the world. And so Al Qaeda is this terrorist group that was behind the September 11 um, attacks, and they took the claim. And so September 11 impacted not just the United States, but the entire world. And this played out throughout different countries in our world. So really this plan of these, there were 19 Al Qaeda terrorists split into four teams that hijacked these four planes, turning them into essentially just giant bombs or missiles as an attack. And they'd been planning this for several years. Several of the terrorists lived in the United States for more than a year. They had taken flying lessons at American commercial flight schools. Others slipped into the country months before to kind of be the muscle of the operation and plan and set things up. Um, you have Al Qaeda here was formed in 1980 by this man Osama bin Laden, and so Al Qaeda members practice the religion of Islam. The thing is, this is not representative of what Islam truly is. It's a peaceful, loving religion all around the world. It's practiced. The followers of Islam are called Muslims, and millions of Muslims live around in the United States even. And so this is not representative here of the religion of Islam. Islam never believed in killing or terrorism. Al Qaeda is like this sect, this group that formed, that they believe that killing their enemies is holy work. And so they believed that Christians and Jewish people had an alliance that was trying to destroy Islam. And so you have Osama bin Laden. His beliefs was that United States was the leader of this attack on Islam, and that was the reason for the hatred. And so allegedly, Osama bin Laden was acting in retaliation for America supporting Israel, and for America's involvement in the Persian Gulf War and just their military presence in the Middle East. And so you have this where America responds to this. They called it Operation Enduring Freedom. George W. Bush, the president at the time, set this up, and we had America led this international effort to remove the Taliban regime from Afghanistan and destroy Osama bin Laden, the terrorist network that was based around this attack. And so within 2 months, we have this, the US forces removed the Taliban, the government, but the war continued, this war on terrorism. The US attempted to defeat the Taliban in a neighboring country, Pakistan. But Osama bin Laden, who was the mastermind of all this, remained at large, and we could not find him. Not until May 2nd of 2011, he was finally tracked down and killed by U.S. forces at his hideout, his compound in Pakistan. And so we're going to leave off there and tomorrow talk about just the impact of our country and how this all changed our world in many ways.